BoredBoxTV.
Why? And these are the things we speak about on a daily. What's going on for Mobe? Where's the Mobe post? You have the Kingston them post. Trelawney them post. Where Mobe post? Where Mobe there? My beautiful guys, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna become of us because you see what they are doing. They're portraying that they want us to migrate to Kingston. So guys, anybody who wants fame and views that bad, take your suitcase, pack up here and run, go up a courts, and go in a park. Run, go up a Ramesh Arm Entertainment, you go sit on an anchor. And when I sit up there anchor, me I know if you me sorry for you. Probably when any of me pitbull dog shit he might sorry for you and get some fame. Because that's what me say to Galang from you know who now go up there already. This musty blood clot yo. This rich bitch now go up there. Cause me now look nothing from none of them. Oh, so you know where to go already. Cause me done show you a pre. Yeah guys, so you know we figure already. Me not know which party might be a post cause then again I want to know we done here. Me a wait for if it come and now me not see it come so me have to go and wait until me see it come. But me not know where then again nobody from Moby. Anybody who want fame that bad, go on to the Kingston yard, then Lucy. Kingston yard, we see one big red gate and he have two dogs in the yard. Go down there go call him and tell him say you look a fame. If you come from Lucy, a Kingston yard they figure. Me not know who figure Moby because they not give nobody from Moby. And a 30k people there Moby and millions and trillions are where they in there. Oh, no. Now turn on bright. Yeah. One officer. outside. Yeah, guys. I go up on the road now. I go ride my bike. Yeah. Gonna ride my bike outside, you guys. Hope all is well with everyone. I'm not really laughing, guys. We had our committee discussion about our port, Montego Bay, where you find the MBJ airport. We are wondering why the residents of Montego Bay haven't gotten any lot of type of likes from this app called TikTok. Nobody seems to have an answer for it. The ones that we see them pinpointing to give are the ones that have migrated and left the country. Long gone leave us, can't really lead us anymore. So what are they telling everyone? To try to go over there? Makes no sense, because if you're going to tell us to leave our country to get fame and likes, what if we were somewhere telling the Americans or the Chinese to leave you guys' country and come, go and get you famous? How would that look? Those things can cause serious problems. It don't make no sense. You have to make the people of the country that are doing what the system say proud Jamaicans. You have to give them as well, because prices are going to go up. Yeah, that's how the price go up. And that's how problems start. So if you don't believe, you don't believe. But I'm telling you the right thing. There are great citizens here. Doctors, teachers, lawyers, nurses, people that abide with the system, pay their bills on time, you know, buy their own house, they own their car, they have great credit. What about those one? I like those one. So you know, so even the younger generation that are in school right now can say, wow, I want to do this so I can, give us some belief, like how you give your people the belief. And if to be frank, you should respect somebody that like to stay in their country, because that's the same way you would like your people to stay where you guys are and satisfied with what you guys get, and don't run away from a prison sentence. Why are you gonna keep on doing weird stuff? It's going to cause strife. That's why it's causing strife now. So if you don't buckle up, you're gonna sorry in the end. You know what they're gonna do? The same one's gonna run away from you again, because they are designed to run. They are runners. They're gonna run away from you again. Yes, they are. And they're gonna go to Paris or France, Europe, Africa. Yeah. What else were you expecting? Were you expecting them to stay and fight? No, they're not gonna stay and fight. They are runners. That's what they do. What else were you expecting? They're runners. That's what they do. They run. Yeah. Oh yeah. So what about the ones that are here on the ground like a crocs, fighting through everything? Building houses, buying houses, going to college, paying bills, let the people them feel good in themselves. You know what I'm saying? You know how that could help us, our confidence level and so on. What's going on for us? Who's gonna talk to us? Nobody seems to be talking to us. It's like we're talking and nobody really listening. We've been talking for years now, nothing, no help, no support. But it's cool, do your thing. Ay. Yes, I'm doing some laundry at the moment. I'm doing some washing, as you can see. That's my washing machine. Here in Jamaica, I buy my washing machine at an Indian store. Yeah, how I buy it was I paid on it as a great citizen of my country, as a trying citizen, as a proud Jamaican at that. How I paid for it, I couldn't pay for it one time, but I paid on it, I paid 10,000. And then, you know, the Lord bless me with the money and I go and I get it. That was how I get it. I work really hard for it, and it's a very good machine. I have it now 2 years. Very nice machine. Yeah, so that's how I get my machine. I pay down, I never have it in full. But one mind say pay down and pray. And I pay down and pray, and you know, it happened for me. And I know if it happened for me as a proud Jamaican, it can happen for you as well as a proud Jamaican. And wherever you are, always be proud of who you are. And never try to run away, because you see who all of who is run away is getting likes and views. Don't you dare run away, man. Believe in us, man, because that's what we really need right now. Out of many one people, a land of wood and water. And if we get hungry, we eat sticks. And we drink river water, and we catch fish out the river. So just know, so we can't hungry. If you want to survive, you will survive. Go on a beach, catch spear, and sticky fish, and roast that, and pray, and believe, and God will come through for you. That's survival, baby. You understand me? Because it don't make no sense. You're gonna make people our country feel bad, so they have to run off now. Forget a certain type of highlight. It don't look good, man. It don't look good. Bad to bad. And when me talk, I foolish me talk, and me I worse. It's alright. I am a proud Jamaican, and I'll always be. Whether I have it or not, I am still a Jamaican. And victory is what I will get to arm in the end. One day, I will get victory as a proud Jamaican. As a proud Jamaican. Oh yeah, at least me have my pride still, and me have my integrity. I ain't not see no shame on my face. I ain't not see my head well done. At least I feel me, and me can't say I feel me. You don't worry about that. You don't worry about that. Worry about you. Oh, you don't worry about that. You don't worry about that. You can't hold me and tell you. I feel me. I don't feel you. I feel me. I'm a proud of it. Yeah. My head now well done. Yeah, me not shame. Me not shame. I'm proud of what I'm in. I'm full of integrity and pride. I'm stand up straight. And my head well up high. You know that feel nice? Feel very nice. Yeah, try that sometime. Humblest calf sucking most milk. You never know. Humblest calf sucking most milk. It might not look good at the first part, but give me a 10 to 15 years down the road. Me smile. Cause I'm out of milk when me catch up in eye pan them. Cause I'm humble. Alright. But when me go realize I'm see one I do, because me have almond eyes. I know say when somebody have almond eyes, they see everything. Me realize what them a do. See all these people them a migrate or about to migrate, them a drop big likes. But me say no sir. So what about us that don't got no visa? Me not even own a passport. But me pay my bills. And me do what me supposed to do. And me not do this and me not do that. So me say what about us? Who are out there fighting for us so we can feel moved? Me not see nobody really. Me a wait to see. Let me see now. What about us? Hey! What about us? What about us? Hey! What about us? What about the ones that build the house here? What about us? What about the ones that pay bills? What about us? What about the ones that do laundry every week and wear over the same clothes? What about us? 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 What about us that are proud Jamaicans? What about us? What about the ones that decide to stay in their country and not run off? What about us? Hey! What about the ones that are starting their family and the baby in their belly and the baby no born yet and them a look at strength and they not give them a strength? What about us? Hey! What about us? What about us? What about us? What about the Jamaican them boy? What about us? What about us? Hey! What about us? Hey! What about us? What about us? What about us? We're wondering. I know we still a wonder. What about the ones that have families? What about us? What about us? Hey! What about us? What about all the proud Jamaicans? What about us? Hey! What about us? Hey! What about us? Out of many one people, land of wood and water. Hooray! 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 Yeah, and I'm going to say our pledge. Before God and all mankind, I pledge to love my country Jamaica forever. Through rough, through thin. And I don't care if when I come on social media, they try to sleep on us and don't give us any validation. Social media does not validate our country. Amen. What about us? Hey! What about us? What about us that go out every day and work and come back in? What about us? What about us that go to school every day? Young kids, big kids, small kids, but use TikTok and post videos. What about us? Hey! What about us? Everybody wonder what about them. What about us? Hey! What about us? Alright, me don't talk, you know. Me don't talk. Yeah. Yeah, guys, I speak for the people. I love you all. Out of many one people, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're mixed, it means out of many people, we are one. We are one type of people. We should love each other, unite with each other, share with each other. You know what I say? Yeah, out of many one people, it don't matter where or what. That's how we are. Yeah man, Irie. Everything Irie. I am a proud Jamaican. Yes, I Britannica, I am a proud Jamaican and nothing will ever change my love for Jamaica. Yeah. Yeah. Why? What about us? What about us? What about us that pay car note? What about us that go to work every day? What about us that go to church? What about us? What about the ones that don't really have it, but we're trying just the same? What about us? 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 What about the housekeepers that work at the hotel? What about us? What about the waitress that work at the hotel and the waiter and the butler? What about us? 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 Justice! Justice for Jamaica! Justice for Jamaicans! Justice! 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 What about us? 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 What about the ones that have to squeeze out the fat bag? What about us? What about the one who have to squeeze the toothpaste? What about us? What about us? What about us? What about us? What about the ones who have to wash with the washing brush and wash with their hand? What about us? 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 What that? What about us? 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 Thank you for the gifts, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate the gifts, you guys. You guys rock. What about us? What about us? What about us? What about us? What about Usain Bolt, the fastest man in the world? What about him? What about him? What about him? What about us? What about us? Let's go. What about us? 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 Yeah. Remember, guys, I can't go and follow World Dog and Swiss-Lee. I don't got no work permit. I don't got no passport. They need to go and give it to somebody I can follow what they do. Because I don't seem to understand what they're about. So what are they going to give that I can understand and follow what they do? I'm waiting. What about us? What about us? What about us? What about us? Us proud Jamaicans, what about us? What about us? Us proud Jamaicans, what about us? The ones that choose to stay. What about us? What about us? What about us? Us proud Jamaicans. Us mothers and fathers, uncles, nieces, nephews, aunts, cousins, brothers and sisters. What about us? 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 Us proud Jamaicans. What about us? The ones that choose to stay. What about us? 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 Oh! What about us? What about us? What about us? What about us? Us proud Jamaicans. What about us? 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 Whoa! Whoa! What about us? 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 Hooray! What about us? What about us? Us proud Jamaicans. What about us? The ones that choose to stay. What about us? What are we getting? What about us? 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 What about about us? What about us? Whoa! That song is called Proud Jamaicans. We respect the ones that choose to stay. Whether through thick, whether through thin, whether with money or without money. We respect our Jamaicans that chose to stay. I hope you guys have a productive day and think about it. What about us? Us proud Jamaicans. What about us? The ones that choose to stay. What about us? What about us? What about us? What about us? True thick, true thin. What about us? Whether we have money or not, what about us? Stop being so materialistic. What about us? What about us? I'm shielding it. What about us? What about us? I'm a proud Jamaican. What about me? What about us? 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 I'm shielding it. What about us? 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 Yeah, guys, take the time out to think. What about us? Proud Jamaican, Britannic of. And I know a lot of you guys here as well. Believe I'm gonna go now. I'm a proud Jamaican. What about me? What about me? What about me? What about us? If not me. What about us? If not me. What about us? If not me. My gone, guys. Big up on yourself. Proud Jamaican. I love all of you. All when me tell me for suck no matter. I love you the same way. Nothing has changed. I have some build my house. You must know. Goodbye.